My life, as Olivia, was once a perfect symphony, every note resonating with harmony and love. My husband, Ethan, was like a warm melody, always bringing me a sense of security and trust. His deep blue eyes were where I found peace, and his radiant smile could dispel all my worries. He wasn't just a husband. He was my soulmate, my romantic partner. We built our home together in a peaceful suburban neighborhood in Pasadena, California. A charming renovated Spanish-style house with a sun-drenched garden and a balcony overlooking the lush green hills. Every morning, golden sunlight would stream through the silk curtains, waking me in his strong embrace. We'd often drink coffee on the balcony, read the paper, and share idle chatter about the day ahead. Every evening, the kitchen would buzz with the clatter of knives and our laughter as we prepared dinner together. Ethan loved my lasagna, and I always found joy in taking care of him. Those gentle touches while washing dishes, those sweet, fleeting kisses when he was reading ... Those simple moments were precious gems I cherished. In that picture of happiness, the figure of my mother, Eleanor, was indispensable. She was the woman I admired most in the world. Her elegant beauty, her perfectly styled golden hair, her warm brown eyes that sometimes held something subtly unreadable. She was a retired art teacher, living in a cozy apartment in San Marino, not far from our house. She wasn't just my mother. She was my closest friend. Her heartfelt advice, her comforting hugs had helped me overcome countless difficulties in my demanding interior design career. Ethan also held Eleanor in high regard. He always treated her with respect and genuine affection. Their lively conversations about art, about good books, or simply their daily chit-chat always warmed my heart. Your mother is wonderful. Olivia, you're so lucky to have a mother like her, Ethan often told me, and I always smiled, content. I believed I was the luckiest woman in the world. I had everything a woman could dream of. Enduring love, a successful career, and a loving, close-knit family. However, discordant notes began to emerge in the symphony of my life. Small changes, at first, I tried to dismiss, but they gnawed insidiously at my inner peace. Ethan suddenly became busier. He frequently had impromptu evening meetings, unavoidable business trips to San Diego or San Francisco. I'm sorry. My love, work's been overwhelming lately, he'd say, his voice strained. I know you're lonely, but I'll try to finish early to be with you. I believed him. Believed in the weary look on his face after long nights of work. Eleanor, too, exhibited strange behaviors. She suddenly took an excessive interest in my and Ethan's marriage. She'd often ask probing, private questions, trying to gauge the affection between us. Once, when I confided in her about Ethan's increasing aloofness, she defended him strangely. Don't overthink it. Dear, all men get busy sometimes. Ethan is a good man. I believe he loves you. I began to sense something amiss, something dark lurking beneath this facade of peace. The furtive glances between Ethan and Eleanor, the quick touches when my back was turned. All those tiny details started to connect, forming a disturbing picture in my mind. I tried to push away those terrible thoughts, but they haunted me day and night. Then came that fateful afternoon. I returned home earlier than expected. The door was unlocked. Laughter echoed from the living room, a familiar female voice. My mother's, and a deep male voice. My husband's. My heart stopped. I tiptoed in, and the sight before me tore my heart into 1,000 pieces. Ethan was holding Eleanor tightly. They were kissing, passionately and deeply. Right there on the sofa where Ethan and I had once exchanged vows of love, a sharp crash echoed. My purse slipped from my hand, clattering to the floor, waking the two betrayers from their trance. They startled, turning to me, their faces pale, eyes wide with fear and confusion. In that moment, my world completely shattered. A deathly silence enveloped the living room like a cruel black shroud. Ethan and Eleanor stood frozen, unable to meet my gaze. Their faces were ashen, radiating utter terror. I stood there, feeling like a stone statue, unable to move, unable to utter a sound. The shock was too immense. It had paralyzed my every sense. Then a choked sob escaped. It was my mother's. She sank to her knees, clutching my legs, tears streaming down her face. Olivia ... my dear ... I'm so sorry I didn't know ... her voice was broken, filled with belated regret. Ethan also stepped closer, trying to grasp my hand. Olivia, I was wrong ... please ... double quotes he stammered, his usually gentle blue eyes now wide with panic, but I felt nothing. No anger. No sorrow, just a terrifying emptiness. I recoiled my hand, coldly looking at the two figures kneeling before me. You two ... are disgusting. That was all I could manage to say. My voice was hoarse, devoid of any emotion. The days that followed were a string of sleepless nights and silent tears. I retreated into myself, unwilling to see or speak to anyone. The beautiful memories of Ethan and my mother suddenly felt tainted, sullied by this horrific betrayal. I looked through old family photos, happy moments, and felt as if it had all been a perfectly staged play. I began to see clearer evidence of their relationship. I checked Ethan's phone whenever he was careless, rummaging through his office. Every loving text, every secret call I uncovered felt like another knife twisting in my heart. I read their fervent emails to each other, their clandestine rendezvous plans, their vows of eternal devotion ... It turned out that behind my back, they had built a world of their own, a passionate and intoxicating affair. One evening, while Ethan was in the shower, I found a small box carefully hidden in his dresser drawer. Inside was an exquisite pearl necklace. I had never seen him give me such an expensive gift. And then, I suddenly remembered that my mother had recently been wearing a similar necklace. A chilling realization dawned, tightening its icy grip around my heart. The pain wasn't just from my husband's infidelity, but from the deceit of the very mother I loved and respected most. She not only betrayed me, but also betrayed the sacred bond of motherhood, betrayed our entire family. I felt as if the whole world was turning its back on me. I had trusted them implicitly, yet now they were the ones who had stabbed me in the back so cruelly. Through those sleepless nights, I gnawed at my pain and resentment. At times, I thought about giving up, fleeing this harsh reality, but then an idea sparked in my mind. Like a small flame in the dark night. Why should I flee? Why should I suffer alone? They caused this pain, so they must be the ones to bear the consequences. The idea of revenge began to take root in my heart, initially a faint glimmer, but gradually it ignited into a raging fire of hatred. The pain did not kill me. It transformed me into a different person, someone I never knew I could be. After days spent agonizing in torment and disgust, a crystal clear realization formed in my mind: revenge, not blind. Impulsive revenge, but a meticulous, cold-blooded plan, meticulously laid out step by step like a grand chess game. I began my research. I didn't just read about laws and the rights of a betrayed spouse. I delved deep into criminal psychology, stories of revenge, and even strategies of psychological manipulation. I wanted to understand my enemies, to grasp their every weakness, so I could strike at their most vital points. Ethan, my husband, was a successful man who craved recognition and reputation. He had cultivated an image of a brilliant architect, a model husband. His greatest fear was not losing money, but losing his social standing, losing the admiration of his colleagues and clients. Eleanor, my mother, on the other hand, lived for praise and the perfect facade she had painstakingly built. Her greatest fear was having her dark secrets exposed, being shamed and scorned by society. I would use those very fears to destroy them. My plan began to take shape with clear objectives. First, gather more evidence, as much as possible, as detailed as possible, not just texts or photos, but high-quality audio recordings and videos. Second, sow doubt and paranoia between them, making them turn against each other, sabotaging their own relationship. Third, expose the truth at the most opportune time and place, where their downfall would have the greatest impact. And finally, end everything decisively, leaving them no chance to recover. I acquired several small, sophisticated electronic devices, an HD voice recorder pen, a wristwatch with a miniature camera, and phone monitoring software that I discreetly installed on Ethan's and Eleanor's phones while they slept. I learned to use them proficiently, ensuring no trace was left behind. I even researched remote recording applications, allowing me to activate the microphones on their phones when they were completely unaware. In their eyes, I remained the gentle Olivia, perhaps a bit melancholic due to my husband's busy schedule. I still cooked delicious meals, took care of the house, and inquired about my mother's well-being, but deep inside, I was a cold, calculating machine operating flawlessly. When Ethan came home late, I didn't complain. When my mother called him on her private line, I pretended not to know. I let them drown in their world of lies, letting them believe I was still a fool, completely oblivious. One evening, Ethan returned home looking exhausted after a late meeting. He went into the bathroom, and I saw his phone on the table. My heart pounded. This was my chance. I took the recorder pen and discreetly tucked it under his pillow, right next to his head. I knew he often called my mother late at night when I was sound asleep, and sure enough, a few hours later, I heard him whispering on the phone, Eleanor on the phone, "My love, I miss your arms so much. Olivia seemed tired today." Pretending to care about her was exhausting. Ethan whispering, "Me too, my muse. I wish I could be with you all night. She never understands me like you do. You're everything I need." Eleanor coquettishly, "Really? Don't lie to me. I'm afraid, afraid of losing you." Ethan, "Never, Eleanor. I love you. We'll find a way to be together forever." Every word, every hushed breath of theirs was recorded. I closed my eyes, trying to keep my face expressionless. My blood ran cold. My plan was progressing exactly as intended. I began to execute my plan, step by step, like an architect meticulously constructing a complex building. The initial goal was to sow seeds of suspicion between Ethan and Eleanor, making them doubt each other, effectively sabotaging their own clandestine affair. Adulterers always live in fear of exposure, and I would exploit that very fear to make them careless, thereby revealing more vulnerabilities. One morning, I accidentally dropped a strange man's button from Ethan's jacket pocket, right in front of my mother. The button was from an old jacket of my brother's, but it had a distinct color and material, unlike any of Ethan's own buttons. "Oh, whose button is this?" I picked it up. Feigning surprise, "You don't have any jackets this color, do you, Ethan?" Ethan visibly flinched, and Eleanor glanced at him with a puzzled look. "It's probably just someone else's, darling," Ethan quickly replied, but his eyes couldn't hide his discomfort. Though nothing was said, I sensed a seed of doubt had been planted in my mother's mind, not stopping there. I also employed a taste of their own medicine tactic. I knew Eleanor cared deeply about her appearance and was prone to jealousy. One time, when my mother was visiting, I accidentally opened Ethan's phone in front of her, letting her see a vague text message from an unknown number. I really enjoyed our evening together. I pretended not to notice, but Eleanor had already seen it. She shot Ethan a scrutinizing look. Ethan and Eleanor began to implicitly monitor each other. I noticed Eleanor frequently asking Ethan about his schedule, and Ethan would occasionally ask me about my mother's whereabouts. Each time, I'd feign innocence or add a few truthful but implicitly suggestive details to deepen their suspicions. For example, I'd say, "Mom's been going to the spa a lot lately, Ethan. She probably wants to stay in shape for meeting friends, you know," or "Ethan's been so busy lately, Mom. Always meeting clients at fancy places. Must be a big deal in the works." Once, I accidentally left a USB stick labeled memories on Ethan's desk. Inside, I had preloaded a few photos I had secretly taken of them from a distance when they met furtively at a familiar coffee shop they thought was safe. The photos were blurry, their faces indistinct, but enough to hint at an illicit relationship. I also included a short audio file, just the sound of my mother's muffled giggling and Ethan whispering, "You're so adorable." I knew Ethan would be curious and open it. When he discovered it, his face drained of color. He looked at me suspiciously, but I simply feigned ignorance. "Did you find anything strange, dear?" I asked, my voice still gentle. He quickly put it away, stammering, "Oh no, just some work files." I also used social media to manipulate their psyches. I posted old photos of Ethan and me on Instagram, accompanied by subtly suggestive captions about love and fidelity. I knew Eleanor always followed my personal page. My aim was to make her feel insecure, jealous, and to crave possession of Ethan even more. One evening, when Eleanor was at my house, she seemed a little uncomfortable. "Olivia, you and Ethan seem to be getting more affectionate lately, don't you? I saw you posting many photos of you two online." Her voice carried a hint of jealousy. "Oh, yes, Mom," I replied, smiling gently. "He's my husband. After all, I have to show him off." He even said he wants to take me on a private trip somewhere to rekindle our romance. My mother subtly frowned. "Really? Ethan's been so busy lately." "Yes, but he said he tried to make time." "Mom," I said, emphasizing the word try. I knew these words would plant seeds of worrying in her mind, making her want to control Ethan even more. These small traps, though not enough to fully expose them, were enough to make them paranoid and anxious. Most importantly, they made them instinctively tighten their control over each other. The simmering tension between them escalated, yet remained hidden beneath the veneer of a normal relationship. I stood by, observing, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction. They had no idea I was orchestrating it all, like puppets on a stage I had set. The suspicion and anxiety increasingly consumed Ethan and Eleanor. They became more cautious in their clandestine meetings, but simultaneously, their longing to be together intensified. In the shadows of their deceit, their illicit affair burned even more fiercely. I had installed hidden cameras throughout the house, not just in the living room, but also in our bedroom and Ethan's study. I wanted to record every moment, every word, every illicit act. I even placed a tiny voice recorder under the bed in our bedroom. One night, I feigned deep sleep. Ethan stealthily slipped out of bed, phone in hand. I peeked, watching him. He went into his study, locked the door, and began to make a call. His voice was a hushed whisper, full of tenderness. "Eleanor, I miss you so much. I wish you were here with me right now." Through the hidden camera in his study, I watched Ethan's love-struck face as he spoke on the phone. He caressed photos of my mother that he kept hidden in his desk drawer. The sight twisted my heart. He used to bestow those loving gestures upon me, but now ... The secret calls and messages became more frequent. I gathered countless pieces of evidence of their illicit affair. Their sweet words, their rendezvous plans, their complaints about the suffocating life they led with me ... All were meticulously recorded. Ethan in the recording. "I'm so tired of this marriage, Eleanor. I just want to be with you, to be myself." Eleanor in the recording. "I understand, my love. You know, sometimes I wish I were young again, so we could live this love openly." Ethan in the recording. "Age doesn't matter, Eleanor. What matters is that we love each other. I love your maturity, your experience." Eleanor in the recording, giggling. "Oh, you smooth talker. But I like it. Ethan, can you ... can you hug me, even just over the phone?" I had enough evidence. Now was the time to deliver the decisive blow. I needed a grand event, a shockwave that would expose their true faces to everyone. Not just family, but also those who held influence over their careers and reputations. I decided to host a celebration for our 5th wedding anniversary. I invited all our friends, Ethan's business partners, my colleagues, and, of course, close relatives from both sides. I wanted them to witness the tragic end of the marriage I once cherished. In the days leading up to the party, I maintained the facade of a happy wife, eagerly anticipating our anniversary. Ethan and Eleanor seemed more at ease, believing I was completely unsuspecting. In fact, Eleanor even offered to help me decorate the house, and I agreed, a subtle, knowing smile on my lips. The night before the party, I sent an anonymous text message to my father, revealing everything about Eleanor and Ethan's illicit affair, along with some of the evidence I had collected. I knew my father would be devastated and enraged, but I needed him to know the truth. Simultaneously, I also sent an anonymous email to several of Ethan's important business partners, hinting at a shocking truth that would be revealed at the party. On the night of our 5th wedding anniversary, our house was magnificently decorated. Crystal chandeliers sparkled, cheerful music and laughter filled the air. I wore a stunning crimson gown, custom designed to emphasize my slender yet resilient figure. My face was meticulously made up, concealing all my pain and resentment, leaving only an unsettling composure. Ethan stood beside me, his face radiant, proud of his beautiful wife. Eleanor was also present, dressed in an elegant gown, her hair intricately styled. But her eyes occasionally darted furtively towards Ethan with a worried look, like a cornered animal. When all the guests had settled, I raised my champagne glass. Tonight, I am incredibly happy to celebrate an important milestone in my and Ethan's lives. I began, my voice sweet but harboring a coldness few could discern. On this occasion, I would also like to share something ... perhaps a big surprise for everyone. Ethan squeezed my hand tightly, smiling lovingly. Eleanor sat still, her face tense, her eyes following my every move. My father sat in a corner of the room, his face somber, his eyes occasionally scrutinizing Eleanor and Ethan. I gestured to a server, who brought out a large screen and a projector I had prepared. To commemorate this special day, I've prepared a short video, capturing memorable moments from our time together. On the screen, images of Ethan and me, happy and in love during the early years of our marriage, began to appear. Applause filled the room. Ethan embraced me tightly, whispering false words of love into my ear. But then, the images shifted. The screen went dark for a moment, then footage from the hidden cameras began to play. There were photos of Ethan and Eleanor meeting secretly at the coffee shop, and large text messages detailing their affair. And finally, the video clip of them passionately embracing and kissing in my living room while I was away on business. The music died. A deathly silence fell over the entire room. Heavy gasps from a few people, the clatter of a wine glass shattering on the floor. Ethan's and Eleanor's faces drained of all color. Whispers and murmurs began to rise from the crowd, quickly escalating into shouts and exclamations of shock. My mother, Eleanor, trembled as she rose, stammering incoherently, her eyes vacant as she stared at the screen. Ethan, his face ghost white, lunged to pull out the USB, but I was faster, holding his arm firmly. "What else are you trying to hide, Ethan?" I whispered into his ear, my voice so chilling it made him tremble. A wine glass slipped from an uncle's hand, crashing to the floor. My father's enraged roar filled the air. "Eleanor, what the hell have you done, you shameless woman?" He lunged forward, his eyes blazing with fury, and delivered a resounding slap across my mother's face. He collapsed to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably, her face swollen. My friends and relatives were utterly stunned and outraged. They turned to condemn Ethan, calling him a traitor, a scoundrel. Several of Ethan's business partners stood up and left immediately, their faces filled with disgust. "You pervert, you disgrace. How could you betray this girl, Ethan? She loved you with all her heart." Ethan and Eleanor desperately pleaded, offered justifications, and wept. But it was all in vain. The evidence was undeniable. Their honor, in that moment, had vanished into thin air. Their downfall unfolded before my eyes, slowly and painfully. I stood there, watching the chaotic scene, feeling a surge of bitter satisfaction, a powerful sense of victory coursing through my veins, yet also a strange emptiness. After that fateful night, everything fell apart. My house, once a cherished home, was now merely a ruin of shattered memories. Ethan, the man who was once my pride, lost everything. The scandal of his affair with his mother-in-law spread like wildfire within the architectural community and throughout our social circles. He was fired from his firm, his clients canceled contracts, and all his major projects were put on hold. His reputation, which he valued above all else, was utterly destroyed. He went into hiding, unable to face anyone, not even himself. Our marriage, of course, ended. I filed for divorce, and with undeniable evidence, I secured everything I wanted: the house, shared assets, and a substantial settlement. As for my mother, Eleanor, she bore even heavier consequences than Ethan. My father filed for divorce the very next day. She was condemned by society, shunned by friends and relatives, the image of the kind, respectable mother she had painstakingly built for years completely crumbled. She lived in solitude, tormented by belated regret. Eventually, she had to sell her apartment in San Marino and move to a small, remote town in Nevada, severing all ties with the outside world. She lost everything: her family, her honor, and all the relationships she once valued. Their lives were ruined, exactly as I had wished. I had successfully exacted my revenge, but did I truly find peace? Now, I live alone in this large house. I've redecorated, painted the walls in brighter colors, and even replaced the old sofa. I wanted to erase all traces of the past, every memory of the betrayal. I continued my interior design work, and I excelled. I had friends, new social connections. But sometimes, on quiet nights, I still wake up with a jolt. Haunted by that horrifying scene, by the lies, by the false smiles, hatred had given me the strength to fight, to stand firm after that shock. It had empowered me to bring down those who had ruined my life. But it had also taken so much from me. I had lost my family, lost faith in love, and perhaps lost a part of my own innocence and trust. I do not regret what I did, because I believe they deserve to face the consequences of their actions. But I also realize that revenge, no matter how sweet, leaves a bitter aftertaste. It did not bring true happiness, only emptiness and permanent scars on my soul. And then, the biggest twist of the story unfolded here, a truth more horrifying than the betrayal I had already endured. Several months after everything had settled down, I happened to run into David, an old family friend who was also the lawyer who had handled some of my father's affairs years ago. During a coffee meeting at a small cafe in Santa Monica, David inadvertently revealed a shocking secret I had never known, a secret he thought I had been aware of all along. I still remember the day your father and Ethan's mother divorced, Olivia. David said, taking a sip of coffee. Things were quite messy. Especially after Ethan's mother found out about your father's relationship with Eleanor. I nearly dropped my coffee cup. Wait, David? What are you saying? Ethan's mother, my father and Eleanor. My heart pounded. A chilling premonition washed over me. David looked at me, puzzled. Oh goodness, Olivia, you didn't know. Your father and Ethan's mother ... They had an affair over 30 years ago, before either of them got married to anyone else. In fact, I vaguely recall that ... Ethan was the result of that relationship. It was like a lightning bolt struck me. The world seemed to stop spinning. My blood ran cold. Everything suddenly became horrifyingly clear. Why did Eleanor have a relationship with Ethan? Why was there such a strange, undeniable connection between them? Could it be ... Could their affair ... not have been a simple betrayal? I secretly investigated, delving deep into the past, digging through old family records, legal documents related to my father and the woman named Catherine, Ethan's mother. And what I discovered completely shattered me, turning my act of revenge into an irreversible tragedy. Ethan was not biologically the son of my father and Catherine in the literal sense. He was my father's son with Eleanor. I found Eleanor's old diaries, written in her youth, chronicling a secret, passionate affair with my father. And then the revelation of her pregnancy with Ethan, a child whose existence my father never knew about for decades. Eleanor had hidden this truth, giving birth to Ethan and arranging for a distant cousin to adopt him to save face for the family. Eleanor not only cheated with my husband, but she was also having an affair with her own biological son, a son she herself had abandoned and kept secret for so long. This truth was more horrific and cruel than anything I could have ever imagined. It turned out I had sought revenge against my own family in the most incestuous way. I had ruined the lives of Ethan and Eleanor, two people I never knew shared such a complex bloodline. Their illicit relationship, it turned out, was a fated connection between those who shared the same blood, a secret that even they might not have fully understood. Now, I live in constant torment and unbearable regret. The sweet revenge of yesteryear has become something bitter and defiling. I had won, but this victory had cost me everything. I had lost my family, lost love, and now I must live with this horrifying secret for the rest of my life. I dare not reveal this truth to anyone for fear it would destroy everything that remains. My story is not just about betrayal and revenge, but also about buried family secrets, horrifying incestuous relationships, and the devastating price of truth exposed. An ending no one could have predicted, a haunting legacy that will cling to me until my dying breath.